Would you like? I just take the whole. Then these boots just came seconds ago, and they're so comfortable. They fit great. Nice. Yeah. Oh, anyways, welcome to Over 50 Starting Over, everyone. I'm Barry Edwards.
Wait a minute to start over.
And we are here with our special guest host, my friend, longtime friend, Mark Tennant.
Why don't you start over?
This is how we roll, dude. I'm not editing. So Mark has been a friend of mine for at least 30 years. And I call him the 21st century marketer. He's got a brilliant mind, got a lot of neat stuff to share with us. I'm going to have to tranquilize that dog at some point here. And, but, you know, starting off, I wanted to tell you a couple things that I just found out minutes ago. Do you know Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell singer, just died today?
I saw that.
And so did Louie Anderson, comedian.
Yep. I saw that. Did you see what Meatloaf died of?
COVID, right?
COVID, yep.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw it on a lot of different publications and only on two less reputable ones, TMZ and Daily Mail, said any mention of COVID. I don't know why that is. But, and Louie Anderson, blood cancer, long bout with blood cancer, which is a horrible, you know who else, really respectable, I think a black conservative, who was that? Now they tried to pin it on the fact that he died of COVID, but his comorbidity was blood cancer. And I can't remember who that is off the top of my head.
Blood cancer was Louie Anderson.
Yeah, but there was a politician, a very renowned politician as well. So
real quick about Meatloaf.
Yeah.
His big album, Bat Out of Hell, multi-platinum album, was, they couldn't get any record company to pick that album up.
You gotta be kidding me. One of the best albums of all time.
But Cleveland's own Steve Popovich, rest his soul. I used to see Steve at the Willoughby Starbucks every now and then, and he's been gone about 6 or 7 years. And he signed him to Cleveland International Records, and that was the label that Columbia ended up putting out. But there was a really huge legal fight when Columbia sold their record catalog to Sony. And Sony was putting out the Bat Out of Hell record without the Cleveland International Record label, which started a big to-do. And Steve Popovich lost a ton of money, but ended up winning the lawsuit. His son still carries on Cleveland International Records, Steve Popovich Jr. But, a little Cleveland connection there, actually a huge Cleveland connection there. And it really got, his career started. I think his real first name was Marvin Meatloaf.
Oh, Meatloaf. Yeah, I think I have it here. Marvin Lee a day. Yeah. Sold millions of Emmys, won a Grammy, acted in films including Rocky Horror Picture Show and Fight Club. That's a huge loss. I remember getting that album. I remember clearly getting that album for Christmas, and I was like in 9th grade or something. And I'm telling you, man, cover to cover, that was an amazing album. And they had a hard time finding a label. My question to you is, and you were
in the 8-track.
Yeah, that's funny. You were in radio for many years, and this is going to segue into something super important, the reason that you're here. But I want to ask you, so Jim Steinman famously wrote all the songs on that record, and they still had a hard time finding a label. Wasn't Jim Steinman already a very accomplished musician, songwriter at that point?
But I think that's just what he was. He wasn't a recording artist that much. I think at that time, I think he was, and he still tours now. As a matter of fact, I think he's going to be at the Northfield Casino here in a little bit.
Wow.
But he wasn't as well known. I mean, this was 1976, so he was still fairly young as well. So, but they couldn't find anybody. Shopped that record around all the labels, and it wasn't until Steve Popovich's Cleveland International Records signed him, and great. Like I said, it's we even knew the Cleveland connection back then because the Buzzard WMMS was flying high at the time here in Cleveland, and they were very, very instrumental in skyrocketing his career, and it all kind of started right around here.
So did Rush. Rock and roll in general got its big push right out of Cleveland.
Bruce, huge.
Bruce Springsteen,
huge.
Correct.
Yeah,
you
huge.
told me a story recently about that at the Cleveland Agora. Probably don't want to tell the whole story. You implicate somebody in something, stolen something there. But yeah, Bruce got a big push out of Cleveland as well. Cleveland Agora.
And that concert you're talking about was that live at the Cleveland Agora. It was WMMS's 10th anniversary party. Oh, wow. And it was simulcasted live all throughout the nation. And of course, WMMS was the flagship station for that particular concert. And that album remains one of the most bootlegged albums of all, or live recordings, I should say, of Bruce Springsteen, because of the quality is so good. And it was on the radio and so forth. And it was a heck of a show. I mean, I still have a copy of it in a CD. So it's a great show and great memories. And yeah, another artist that Cleveland launched.
If you had to guess, how old was Springsteen at that time of that recording? Early 20s?
27, 26.
Okay.
Because let me see. What is he now?
God, I don't know.
71.
At least
71 minus 40, 45, something like that. So
whatever that equals.
Maybe late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
Right.
All right. So this is a appropriate segue. I briefly introduced the Syndicate of Sound last week, but I really wanted to hit that for a good 5 to 10 minutes with you, because I think there's really something very important going on there. And what I said about that last week is that let's back up a little bit. You graciously brought me in to help out with creating the brand image for that, the visual brand. And I was told, wow, the Syndicate of Sound thing it's a whole new level of surround sound. It's not even surround sound. So surround sound, as we have always known it, is like with these headphones, you hear some guitar in your left ear, you hear some drums or bass in your right, and then the vocals sound like they're coming right down the middle. Well, this technology, it takes this to a whole new level, like triples that effect, to say the least. And you guys invited me to an unveiling of it for press and friends and partners.
Love it.
Thank you. And I'm so proud of it as well. You guys directed it. You wanted it a little Godfather flair to it. And I presented a lot of different types. I explored my own thoughts on it as well. Put it out on Facebook for a case study, and that helped us shore things up. But we're all very happy with what came out of it. Now, when I went to that event that you guys put on last week at the Music Box, and the Music Box plays a very big role in the rolling out of Syndicate of Sound.
Oh, huge. Very
huge. Yes. It was held in this room right here. If you guys are watching, it is a big box. It is a great big square room, and it is lined with 6 different speakers. And as you guys started to play music, you would hear the different instruments and all the different speakers, not just 1 or 2, as typical surround goes. Am I saying this right, Mark? Am I explaining this correct?
Well, I mean, yeah, essentially, because it's what people know, without getting too techie or geeky, but, surround sound has been, traditionally, speakers all around you in one room and trying to hear different sounds out of each speaker collectively, and you're in the middle and, for the experience. But what we were able to do, so first of all, I will back up and, thank you, by the way, for talking about Syndicate of Sounds.
My pleasure. So I think this is going to be a global breakthrough. I really do.
Well, this is thank you. We kind of hope so too. Mm-hmm. But Mary Seidler is one of the co-founders. Frank Fody, the other co-founder, and myself. So Frank there's Frank right there. Frank is the engineer. He's got all of this up in his head. So essentially what he was able to do, he always wanted to do something with surround sound. Now, a quick bio on Frank. He is the El Padrino, if you will, of the Telos Alliance, which is an audio processing company, broadcast audio processing company here in Cleveland, Ohio. And Frank owns about 70 to 75% share of the world market. Not bad for a kid from Wycliffe. So he always had this in his head. So Syndicate of Sounds, we're so different from the Telos Alliance. We're not even connected, other than Frank being the president of the Telos Alliance. And the reason for that, they're on the broadcast side of processing. We're on the entertainment side, or the live sound of audio. So traditionally, a true stereo sound, because the ears, the canals they're different. They're up and down like this. They're not side by side. And when you would hear an audio sound, they would fake the true center. So it sounds like you've got two speakers here, but the vocals are coming here. Well, what Frank has been able to do, which no other surround sound does, is he found the true center of an audio signal, mathematically.
Yeah, you don't have to get too technical here. Trust me.
So he was able to take that once he found true center, he was able to split that up into 6 different channels. So when you actually listen to our product called Deja Vu is the name of this product, you are totally immersed in surround with each speaker of the 6, and you can have more, but minimum 6, delivering a different experience to that audio. And it sounds amazing. You were at the media event last week. What did you think of the sound? And it's one of these things where you can tell somebody how great it is, but until they actually experience it. And what we like to say is people able to experience the music they grew up with all over again for the first time. And I think the Deja Vu product offers that.
I can absolutely attest to that. It really, you said it right. When we're talking about it, it sounds like trite stuff to say. And I'm not kidding you when I say it sounded like I heard this stuff for the first time. So you guys started with, you went through 3 different songs. You started out with a Steely Dan song, and which is a great way to go. Pardon. I thought you said, because they have so many instruments that come in at various times. And I immediately, now I have the picture of the room that we were sitting in when we heard it. There are 6 different speakers that line the ceiling of this space. And these different instruments would come in and out of these speakers as they came about. It was really so. Oh, and I should back up and say, you guys would play it in a traditional method for the first 20 seconds and then start over in the Deja Vu technology. And it was, oh my God, mind blowing. So we went on from that song to the classic rock of all classic rock songs, Bad Company by Bad Company. Paul Rogers, some guitar, some bass, and some drums. Just typical classic rock. And that was a really neat experience too. But then,
this is
for the third
moment.
Oh my God, this is the oh my God moment that you guys started off playing the first 20 seconds of Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin, one of my all-time favorite songs by one of my all-time favorite bands. But when you went back, replayed it through the Deja Vu technology, Syndicate of Sounds, Deja Vu technology, it was something that I never heard before. It was a song I've heard 100 times plus, and yet I never heard it like this before, to say the least. Now, if you guys could get that song in your mind in the way that you've heard it blow through your headphones and so on, nothing like blowing through 6 different speakers with all the instruments breaking up and flying around the room. I literally had tears in my eyes, and I never heard that song like that. Did you ever see Robert Plant and Jimmy Page seeing that dedication to them in
right,
Heart
Plate? Stairway to Heaven.
Yes. I saw that. I happened to catch it on TV by channel surfing, and I saw it relatively live, I guess. And I was so blown away, and everybody has seen the recorded version since. I would love to see Jimmy Page and Robert Plant hear what I just heard. And they never heard that.
Right. Exactly. They've never heard their music like this before, ever. Right. And you have, which I think is just so cool. And, the immersive listening parties, if you will, that we're going to have starting at the Music Box Supper Club in downtown Cleveland next Friday, February 4th. as of this recording, it is next Friday, February 4th, 2022. And we are going to actually, our first event will be a Steely Dan night where we'll be featuring the Asia album for all the Steely Dan fans, and they are going to love it. And we actually have a business relationship with longtime producer of Steely Dan, Gary Katz. And not only has Gary Katz, worked with some of the biggest artists in the world like Steely Dan, he signed Jim Croce, he signed the Mamas and the Papas, and he signed Jimmy Buffett to their first record deals. So Steve is very knowledgeable. So it's going to be a night, and every night, every immersive sound party, there's going to be a special guest DJ, as Mike Miller, who we'll talk about here, the owner of the Music Box Supper Club, who was instrumental in launching the Deja Vu product with us, is going to be on hand. Gary will be on hand. He'll be talking about all the entire recording session. Yep, there's Mike, of the Deja Vu, of the Asia album. And we're going to be playing some, as Barry said, some songs in regular stereo, and then we're going to play the entire album in immersive. And Gary will be talking about how the album was recorded, the different songs, stories about Donald Fagen and Walter Brecker, the founders of Steely Dan. And it'll just be not only an immersive night as far as the sound is concerned, but I think everybody in the room is going to love it. And I bet people walk out of there as best friends because they're lovers of Steely Dan. And again, they're hearing their favorite music all over again for the first time. And that will be next Friday. So we're really looking forward to that. And once again, shout out to Mike Miller from the Music Box Supper Club. When we brought this idea to him earlier this, mid 2021, I should say, since this is now 2022, he was so excited and all over it. And when we demoed it for him on September the 15th, I believe it was, he was completely blown away and all in. And so since then, we were able to work with him. He's added a nice investment into the speaker system. So the immersive sound event and Deja Vu will sound very, very well. It's selling good, but there's tickets still available for it. $10, great place, great facility. You have some dinner, have some drinks, and listen to some great music. And we think this is the start of something that we hope we'll be able to bring worldwide to people, because we're true music fans ourselves. This isn't about us truly. I mean, sure, it's a business, but really, I loved watching you, Barry, when A Whole Lot of Love was playing. I was about 5 feet away from you, and you had this look on your face, and that's the look I want to see. Yeah. And I think we'll see from just about everybody that attends one of the immersive listening events here in Cleveland, and hopefully all over the world here within the few years coming.
And that's for real. And folks, you are invited. And so the first kickoff is February 4th. I will be there Friday, 7:30, $10 in advance, only $14 day of. So don't hesitate to come out. We got a follow-up one on March 2nd. I will be in Florida at that time. And then April 13th.
But Paul Rogers from Bad Company will actually be on hand for that particular album. And so will Dave Shapiro, longtime manager still of Joe Walsh and locally here of the Michael Stanley Band. So David will be there. Paul Rogers will be on hand, I believe, through a link, a video link. And so it's going to be fun. And then the Earth, Wind, and Fire party. And then, of course, the Duran Duran Rio party coming up in May. So it's cool. Going to be fun. And actually, when I contact bands, management companies, everybody's been very, very receptive to the idea, and they love that we think about them. And I'll just say that I'm going to be working personally on trying to get somebody close to the Rio album from Duran Duran to be able to join us and be able to share stories about that record, and then the wild life that was the band Duran Duran back in the 80s.
Oh, that's so cool. And guys, you can check this out for yourself at musicboxclee.com/immersive. I will have that link for you in the show notes. If you go to over50startingover.com, sign up there, you will get all of the notes and links and everything right to your email box as it happens. I think this is a really fantastic thing to get in on at the ground floor of and be one of the first to be able to talk about it. I think it's fantastic. Oh, and by the way, Mark, there's a couple other products that are linked to this. And there's so many ways that we get our sound. This not just at a beautiful club like Music Box, a gem that it is on the Cleveland's West Bank shore, but in your car, on your headphones, in your car most of our cars have amazing sound systems. Is the Deja Vu or is the Syndicate of Sound technology coming to products like this?
Well, we sure hope so. But you know, we're so early days of this thing. I think organically it's going to grow legs of its own, and who knows where it's going to go. We would love to have it in automobiles. I will say this, that you know, we have found that big corporations such as Chrysler, GM, Ford, they're so siloed. And, you know, this one has no idea what this one does, but they're all collectively one this just giant corporation. And, you know, being able to, if you, let's just say today, one of the major manufacturers said, yep, we want to put Deja Vu into our cars. Well, we're 5 years out easy from you being able to hear it, because how the process works of manufacturing cars, where if we get a smaller car company that is just world renowned, starts with a T.
Yeah, maybe a very innovative. I
think it would be something maybe more up their alley. Who knows? But we've never had a talk, never met Mr. Musk or anything like that. But I understand he's on Twitter a lot, so who knows about that. But the other product that we do have coming, we're just getting the technology down and being able to recreate the surround sound, the immersive 5.1 that you would hear at the music box into headphones. And we're going to call those Deja cans, you know, the cans over the ears thing. Sure. And hopefully within maybe this time next year, we'll have a prototype out, maybe sooner, who knows? It depends on how the legs start running on this project, but we're very excited about that. And, you know, so we'll be able to, listeners will go to one of the immersive events, can be able to, you know, have that same party in their ears. And I do wanted to tell you, Barry, and I don't think we talked about this really quick, because people ask us, how does it work? Mm-hmm. So essentially it takes a stereo recording and, you know, mathematically breaks it out to true surround, essentially is what happens. And being able to do that with just headphones was a challenge in of itself, but we're almost there. And hopefully by, as I said, this time next year, we might have something up and running, but we'll see.
Would you need multiple speakers in your headphones in order for this to work? Is that how that's going to go? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I can't even imagine. You know, I was thinking about Musk. You know, the first thing he would do with that, you approach it, he would put that into SpaceX and shoot that out in space.
Well, okay.
You know he would. Hey, I got a question for you before we just get into other current events and stuff like that. And I thank you for sharing that with us. I'm thoroughly excited about Syndicate of Sound.
Thanks. And I hope I live up to Merle's expectations, because there's a big seat to fill. So hopefully we'll do well. No,
you're definitely doing great. You're doing great. I got a question for you. So I have a birthday coming up next week. I get to go to whatever restaurant I want to go to. And I don't care all that much about, other than, how do I want to say that? I want to take Lisa. I'm on the fence. Like, do you know Woodstock, the restaurant Woodstock on the West Side? It's a barbecue.
No, I do
It's
not.
amazing. It's about 140th in Madison.
Okay.
It's amazing.
That's over by Angelo's Pizza.
Yeah. And legendary Angelo's Pizza. And, you know, we went to Austin a few years ago. We got plenty of the world famous barbecue from Austin. Well, let me tell you, barbecue only gets so good, right? I mean, if it's freaking perfect and great, it's delicious. Woodstock does that. And the prices are good too. And it's a comfortable neighborhood bar, but nice, nice, but a bar. And big square bar and everything. I mean, I love the atmosphere. Anyways, I'm thinking about using that trump card, so to speak, so I can get Lisa there. It's the only way I'm going to get her there and have that experience. She's not a big meat eater, but you get her some absolutely amazing barbecue and she'll appreciate it. But then on the other hand, I can use this opportunity to do something like maybe the Marble Room downtown. But you're talking about 3 times as much money. I don't want to do that to her. I don't know. If you could go anywhere in the Cleveland area for your birthday, what do you think? What, like right off the top of your head, you got anything?
Barrio
for some cheap tacos. I love Barrio.
They're the best. And their margaritas are the best. I would be very, very happy with Barrio or Angelo's Pizza, or actually, let me just throw this one at you. Baracco. Baracco is a.
There's one on Larchmere right here now.
That one closed, but their sister store, Ola Tacos, opened there. But their original store is over on Madison, actually really close to Woodstock and Angelo's Pizza. Mm-hmm. And the food is just it's I don't know if it's a Brazilian, Portuguese kind of, but it's South American kind of cuisine. Yeah. And they make their own arepas. Arepas are it's just like it sounds. And essentially it is a corn mash, really tasty shell that they fill with just about anything you'd like. They have all kinds of different combinations. They make those by hand daily. They make their own sauces, and the food is just marvelous and fantastic at Baracco. They have one now in downtown Willoughby.
I didn't know that.
And then their original.
That's competing. That's kind of competing with the new Barrio down there too, though.
For sure.
I love downtown Willoughby. I really do. It's a lot of fun. If you didn't, just to make that easy on you guys, this Baracco, if you don't know better, it's a funny kind of Mexican food. That's about it. You know,
but it's fantastic. The food is really good.
It really is. All right, let's just get on to some current event type stuff. What did you think of Biden's speech there the other night? Longest speech, presidential address in decades.
Press conference. Yeah.
Press conference. Right. Hour and 50 some minutes.
Well, when I traveled from my other full-time job in downtown Cleveland to here where I live, up east of Cleveland, up on the lake in Geneva, Ohio, it's about a 60-minute ride. So I was able to listen to about 50 minutes of it, which was live as it was happening, which I rarely get the opportunity to be in one place to listen to something that long unless you're in the car, right?
Right.
And, I just thought he probably didn't need to go as long as he did, because I really think he was running out of things to say. Barry, when you see these press conferences, and as a citizen, happy citizen, proud citizen of the United States, you want your president to be a little bit more presidential than that. Yeah. And people go, what does that mean? Well, I think it kind of went off the rails a few times. He raised his voice at a reporter and then went right back down, and his sentences were like me trying to stutter to say something to say about it. It was just, there were no complete thoughts at times. And then when he talked about a minor incursion into Ukraine, I thought,
you waffled on that.
That's the first thing I said was, wow, thinking
he took a lot
I bet he's on a world stage here, and one of our allies over there is probably a little bit worried now. And but they, of course, the White House was quick to put out many corrections after that was over, about what, our alliance is unwavering and but what was done. And as they say, it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yes.
And I think that's what they were trying to do with a lot of things that were said there.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts I have piggybacking off what you said. First of all, this is not an endorsement of Trump, for God's sakes, because that's what most people do when they're on extremes. Well, Trump, blah, 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 because you say presidential. Totally follow you. Trump was embarrassing every time I turned on the TV and he was on. I was very embarrassed for our country. We've just not had a lot to choose from. And I mean, our Democrats on the left spent 4 years of Trump saying anybody but Trump. I was always asking, what's your platform? What's your platform? What do you stand for? And all I got was anyone but Trump. Well, this is what you get, is you get this guy who can't put sentences together like me. And
yeah, but we're not president, so we're okay.
Right. Never will be. I got to say, it's so far gone. It's got to the point where CNN is attacking him left and right now. And when that happens, it's off the rails, to use your terms. I got something outlined here. This is from an article, and it's quote, "It's like Reagan at the end," CNN's Van Jones says, that Biden was foggy and meandering for much of his first press conference in 78 days. After he made foggy and meandering remarks at his press briefing, Jones said, "I think you have to be honest that you can be a foggy, meandering president, say, like Reagan near the end, if you're winning. He alleged you got a real problem if you're giving distant answers to questions when you're also not winning. The commentary, however, is not new for Biden, as he has been criticized over his cognitive health since he first launched his presidential campaign. Now, Mark, this is what I think. Like, clearly he doesn't call the shots. He's got handlers, and his handlers decided that if he does the longest press conference since before Bush, I mean, it's been a long, that would prove his cognitive stamina. That's what I think was the thought there. But I, like everything else, like jilting a Tulsi Gabbard, they never backed. And I say this a lot on this podcast because I love Tulsi Gabbard. She will not take corporate funding, which is why the Democratic Party turned their back on her completely, because they're part of the machine. She will not be part of that machine. So they turn their back on her, the most competent person up there. And instead, they're the identity politics party. So they turn their back on the woman of color and instead endorse the old white guy who represents the white patriarchy that they hate. But you know what? They made up for it by giving us a VP that everybody hates, but she's a woman of color. This is a backwards party, and it's driving me crazy. And as we look forward to 3 years down the road, you know, they're right now, they're guaranteeing Trump's reelection is the way I see it. This is what bothers me. I don't want Trump in there. I don't want Trump even running. I think he's bad for the country, especially at this point after the way he ended his presidency with the January 6th debacle and the whole losing the election. What do they call that? But about the election campaign, ballots.
Rigging or whatever.
What do they call that? There's a word for it.
Rigging the election?
Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll go with that. I can never remember things on the fly like that. But we need some real candidates in here, folks. We need to stop with these extremists. The Democratic Party's talking about running Hillary again. We already know everybody hates Hillary. Why would you do that? So I don't know. I'm going a little too far. But you know what? I got another thing along these lines. This is another CNN article here, and it's titled Fact Check, a look at Biden's first year in false claims. This is from CNN, people. Okay, Trump never had the backing of mainstream media. Quite the opposite. Biden had the backing of mainstream media, but he lost it.
People say Fox was all in for Trump.
Well, sure, and they were. But you know what? Even Fox didn't support. They turned their nose on the whole the steal. That's what they call it, the steal at the end of the so-called election ballots being falsified. Whatever. Even Fox didn't go down that road, and they got all the extremists got irate with Fox over that. But anyway, so CNN has this whole fact check article in quotes. Biden, I used to drive a tractor trailer part of the summer, though only for part of the summer. He also said at a Mack Trucks facility in July, I used to drive an 18-wheeler, man. And there's no evidence Biden ever drove a big truck. Okay, Biden repeatedly told a story about a supposed conversation with an Amtrak train conductor that could not possibly have happened because the man was dead at the time. He repeatedly boasted that he had traveled 17,000 miles with Chinese President Xi Jinping. I think that's how you say his name. Though that number was not even close to being correct. Biden claimed last week, which he had claimed many times before, that he had been arrested in a civil rights protest, and no record of that exists. They went on to have paragraphs on false claims about Afghanistan, paragraphs about false claims about the economy, false claims about COVID-19 pandemic, and false claims in unscripted settings. So it's pretty bad when it comes down to that. And I just hope that we can somehow, I've said many times, I think we've been so ripe for a third party, an independent party, and we could have the decent people, somewhat moderates from the left and the right fall into it. And maybe we can get some true representation and let all the nuts stay on the fringes. I'm just tired of this nutty stuff.
You know, it was funny. I had a friend of mine and I were talking about, we were really talking about money, campaign money, and how much money is raised during these, and I mean, you can have 50 parties, but there's still going to be that they still need to get the donations. They still need to be able to run their campaigns. They still need to be able to get their message out. This is a pretty big country. How are you going to
campaign fund?
Stop, that kind of thing when you actually need that kind of money to be able to support a campaign? That is the question.
That's a very good question.
So, a third-party candidate would still have to get their message out, would still have to stump, would still have to travel, would still have to do the same thing that is being done during any election. And I just don't know how that would happen without taking large sums of money, or unless you can get people to almost crowdfund it, which is unheard of. I'm not saying you can't happen, but you'd have to have a lot of support for that. Yeah, but you'd have to have a lot of support. And who's going to send somebody money that they're not sure they're going to vote for? And, a lot of times these elections start a year and a half out, 18 months out. And that's a long time. And most Americans vote. They decide, well, here it is, September 1st. I probably better figure out what's going on in the president's election and who I want to have, who I want to vote for. So you still have that big time in there where they campaign and everything. So I just don't know how you're going to get away from the big money if you raise a party.
You raise great points there, really great points. And I guess the only thing I could say to that is that the majority of Americans are somewhere in the middle, whether they're leaning right or leaning left. And there's a whole lot look at the millions of people that listen to Joe Rogan and to Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar, who are right there with his ratings, and Jordan Peterson, millions. And all of these people are moderates, whether they're leaning right or left, they're still somewhere. They're not extremists. And all these people that listen to these podcasts are sick of this stuff. They're in the know. They're aware. Maybe we're sick of it enough that we can do crowdfunding for something like that. We got 3 years.
Popular.
Say again?
You'd have to have somebody that's awfully popular to be able to.
There's some good people. There's some good people.
Yeah. I'm not saying it can't be done. Look, I've learned to say never say never. Except for I'll always have to pay taxes and I'll always die. That's probably about the only
thing. There you go.
But other than that, anything's possible. So who knows? But it's a big hurdle. It's a big challenge. And most of that money, they say anyway, is from these political action committees, these PACs, these lobbyists. And maybe if they just did away with those, but even if you did away with those, again, you still would have to have resources to be able to go out and campaign. So again, back to, it's all about the money thing.
Yeah, I know, but you could almost, if you cleaned up half of the corruption in government, we could reduce our taxes by 50%. And I swear to God, there's this much taxpayer waste. And you could just say, the only way you have to apply to be a valid candidate, and you all get the same amount of government funded funds to campaign on. And that might be, it's a mess because like with lobbyists came about for very important reasons, because you can't have politicians running the businesses. You need lobbyists to chime in and say, hey, this is how our business works. This is what we need. The problem with that is, like everything else, is when they get too big and they start taking over, which they did a long time ago, meaning the lobbyists.
Yeah.
Well, so how do you balance it? Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, so you got this heroin addiction. Well, how about if we just cut that back and just do a little bit of heroin? It's not going to work. I don't know. I don't have the solutions. I know what the problems are for sure, though.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure.
Hey, did you hear about that 5G problem? So it's not on the tip of my head here, but I read about the airlines and that got all shut down because they're switching over to 5G, and then they shut down all these airlines. Then they put them all back online because some backup systems kicked in or something like that. But I think they found the issue in testing, and which was funny because it was late in testing, since this whole thing has been being developed the last 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. Going from 3G to 4G to 5G. But the one thing that I thought was fascinating was the fact that they just figured it out recently, that and it probably was by accident, right? Because so, essentially it's the navigation of the airplanes.
that could be compromised with a 5G network in proximity of an airport when they're landing and taking off. So, I and then I know some of the older airplanes, like the Boeing 777s, I heard have the outdated navigation systems in them, and they won't even let them fly into these airports that are going to have this around. So that's going to be a problem. They say they'll figure it out. And what does that mean? So within 30 miles of an airport, there won't be any 5G. Well, most airports are located in proximity to the closed cities, and they wanted that 5G in these major cities. So I hopefully they get it worked out, but I just couldn't believe, one, how long it took them to figure this out. And two, their passenger safety is number one. I just don't know how they're going to guarantee that now that, what we know. So I don't know.
Yeah. I just got to say one thing that I haven't heard really mentioned. Pete Buttigieg, who was in the news a few months ago, all over the place for taking 2 months off for parental leave after he was just nominated Secretary of Transportation, the head of this problem. I don't know. I think maybe we can draw some lines there, but hey, whatever. Hey, this is about a week late in the news, but how about that Tonga eruption?
Wow, that was something. I remember waking up last Saturday. Was it last Saturday morning? And because I always, again, rather than, I don't have a physical paper, which I love to sit and have coffee, but I was looking at online, and I saw I think I saw the story and the video on CNN of that actually erupting.
Yes.
That was just, that's crazy. And that area, isn't that called? That's called the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
That particular area, big giant circle, all the way down the Asian coast and over the South Pacific and up the U.S. coast and Alaska and so forth. But that was really something. And I think there's a lot of people out there. Well, I know there is, because I've heard people say, I had no idea that volcanoes were underwater and it could do that. And they just thought it was something that was above water. And so, yeah. And as you'll see with that last slide you had of where it was felt and how big it was, that was pretty massive. The volcanoes have always and plate tectonics and everything in geology, that's always really always fascinated me. And this was something that
me too.
Unbelievable.
But what I'm a little surprised at is how that was not detected. Wouldn't there be some kind of minor tremors leading up to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, they knew it was active.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think they knew it was going to do what it did. I mean, that was pretty violent. I would have to say that it probably, the just like Mount Vesuvius did years ago, but I think half the probably mountain that was underwater mountain it was in probably got destroyed, blown apart, because it was such a powerful and violent eruption. It was crazy.
Yeah, it really was. A follow-up to a story, a very important story that we've been following here on this show, is on the moon, there's been this cube-like structure that we've been wondering about for about 6 weeks at least. And Merle and I are just like, can't that rover just get a few feet closer and take another picture already? Well, it did.
Pick it up.
It finally did. And I said all along it was going to be a couple of rocks. Moon Mystery Hut, or cube, it was often called, is just a rabbit-shaped rock Chinese rover finds. So bump. There you go. There's the end of that mystery. Kind of knew it was going to end up like that. The moon's a fascinating place, though. Hey, I've been seeing, and I don't have anything to pull up right away, but I remember seeing, I think it is even this morning, there have been reports of the Mars rover showing some kind of signs of carbon, some kind of carbon evidence, which is to be associated with life. Like it's starting to get closer and closer to finding signs of life. You know anything about that?
A lot of those stories are just kind of, scattered here and there. Usually when it takes really cool pictures or it's on another part of the planet, you'll start hearing more and more as that rover travels. But no, they have drilled in to the surface and have been able remotely to be able to analyze some of that material up there and dirt, if you will, if you call Mars what we would call dirt, whatever it is up there.
Yeah.
But I know, as far as them getting closer and closer to that, I want to say though, the last thing I heard about associating with life, if you will, was the chemical makeup of water in some spots.
Yes.
Or whatever. And that would kind of maybe lead to indicate there's maybe some form of life or whatever because of water. Not sure, but probably should be a little more, cognizant up on those types of things. But usually when things come out and on a slow news day, usually these things kind of come out. You pay attention for a day or two, and then they kind of just fall off the radar, if you will. But
they
fascinating stuff, though.
I think it's fascinating. They seem to have pretty substantial evidence. I think it's via some kind of like sonar, or maybe it's infrared stuff, but that there is water there underground. It seems to be pretty accepted that is the case. And when it's just me talking, I just would find all those different elements. I find it implausible to think that there's not like some kind of single cell life down there, at least some kind of bacteria, just the most minor of something. And anyways, I'm always fascinated with that kind of stuff. You want to see something totally different? I saw this on the news like yesterday, you know what? I need to make sure I get this sound. I always miss that little invisible button down there. Okay. There we have it. This lady, TV reporter struck by car during a live broadcast. This is in West Virginia. Watch this, folks. And this is courtesy of, I don't know, we'll figure it out.
That's NBC News there.
The NBC affiliate in Huntington, West Virginia. She was about to do a live report when she was accidentally hit by a car. Take a look.
Today Show.
Unfortunately, in freeze thaw, we see this. Water main breaks.
Watch this. God, that looked bad.
Got hit by a car, but I'm okay. I just got hit by a car, but I'm okay, Tim.
That's the first for you on TV, Tori.
Woo! We're all good.
That's the first for you on TV.
Yeah, that's live TV.
The co-host is hilarious.
I actually got hit by a car in college too, just like that.
Wow.
I am so glad I'm okay. You're okay.
We're until hit by.
Well, I backed up for a minute.
That's got to be.
Watch his face. Watch this guy's face.
In freeze thaw, we see this. Water main breaks.
Got hit by a car, but I'm okay. I just got hit by a car, but I'm okay, Tim.
That's the first for you on TV, Tori.
Woo! We're all good.
Well, no, not really, Don.
I'm okay. Yeah, that's live TV for you. It's all good. I actually got hit by a car in college too, just like that.
Wow.
I am so glad I'm okay. Yeah. You're okay.
Now she goes on. I saw a different video with this where they went on a little longer, and she's still a million miles an hour. Yak, 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 yak. I swear she's in shock.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then live TV, and then that didn't look like they had a huge budget there, and so she probably was her own camera person, and probably was the only one there in the truck and at the station. And well, at least they said the driver did stop to help her, so at least that. But I was wondering how in the world, with the lights and everything there, how in the world did the driver not see her? By watching that a few times, it looked like a car going like kind of sideways on ice. That's what it looked like to me. Okay. Yeah, man, it's icy out here. What's it like over there right now? It's icy here. It's cold. I know it's 19 degrees right here where I'm at outside. I was just outside a bit ago to feed the birds, and it was really cold. We got probably about 26, 27 inches of snow, which is really uncommon for us. We get a lot of snow out here. We're part of the snow belt. If you're in a different part of the world, as they say, Google it. It's a wild phenomenon, but essentially we got dumped on really, really heavy this time around. And I've been out here about 13 years, and it's the most I've ever seen at one time. So hopefully this is a once in a lifetime thing, and we'll just deal with it.
Yeah, once in a lifetime, I highly doubt that. We get this every few years, something kind of like this. And I got to tell you, so I got to take this dog out for a walk a few times a day. And same thing here. We got the exact same thing. We got a ton of snow, and then it started melting the last couple of days, and then it froze. And so walking, it's so icy. And about 15 years ago, Mark, I had the same situation with my dog back then was Bowser. Same build as him, very strong dog. And we had the same kind of conditions, and he pulled me off my feet. And I did one of those side to side kind of things until I landed on my ankle and broke it in 3 places. I now have a plate and pins put up in it and stuff like that to this day. So when I go out there, that's all I'm thinking about. And I just had a neighbor, a friend of mine, who's got this dog that they love each other. She just a couple days ago fell backwards right onto her head, slammed on her head, bad concussion, to the emergency room, the whole thing. You got to be super careful out here, folks, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I work in downtown Cleveland, and they have no way of plowing the sidewalks or shoveling the sidewalks. So walking in the street yesterday, so there's a road near where I work called Murray Hill Road, and it's a brick road. It's actually one of the last few brick roads here in the city. Excuse me. It's like, okay. Anyway, so oh boy, excuse me, Barry.
Oh, that's all right, man. It's okay.
Okay. Anyway, so I was walking down the street and almost slipped and fell on these bricks a few times because the sidewalks weren't done, and just that ice. It was the same thing. It had melted that day, a couple of days ago, and then froze over the last couple of days, and it is really, really slick. Got to be careful for sure.
Right. With that last share, I screwed up all of my notes and they won't come back. And I had a really cool, fun article to end with, which I'm sorry, with the video and stuff. And it's gone. I don't know what to tell you. Technical difficulties, it happens. With that, how about we wind this thing up? And I really appreciate you coming on. Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you something. I should have asked you in the front part of the episode. God, I wanted to, while I got you on here and your expertise, I really respect your marketing prowess. I call you like the 21st century marketer because you really embrace the digital realm. And because this is O5O, where we like to encourage people at this stage of their life to pursue what they enjoy most and really go out in your third act just the way you want to. So if somebody's like, oh man, I want to just open up my own consulting business. I'm not sure where to start. I'm this close. You know, I'm so good at what I do, but I hate corporate America. I hate my boss, all this. I want to do it myself. What would you recommend for them to build an audience?
Well, I guess that's just what you need is you need somebody to be able to sell your product or service to, and how do you go about doing that is the question I'm hearing. And first of all, I would say that there's several ways you could do that. I mean, but the first thing you need to do is probably figure out who your audience is and who it is you want to reach. And a lot of times people, no matter what the product or service is, you ask them, who do you want to reach? And they say everybody. Well,
right.
That's a little hard.
It's a backwards way to go, believe it or not.
You should be able to narrow your audience down to as far down as you can go, as they say. It's one of those things where you can't niche down too far. It's a big world. If you have something interesting to say, people are and actually, if you have a solution to a problem that people have, they want to hear what you have to say because they've got this problem. So finding that audience, where it is, what platform are they on? Do they listen to podcasts? Did they listen to, or they read blogs? Did they watch videos? What medium are they most comfortable at to find their information? And for me, it's video. There's some people might still like to read, and there's some people that maybe just like to listen. But for me, video does two things. One, it's very informative. Two, you get to actually hear, see, and feel what that person's about in that video. For example, plastic surgeons is an area that I help them with their digital marketing. And one of the biggest things, and really this is any business, Barry, what kind of and this goes back to the thing, what type of content do I put out there? Okay, I know I want to do a blog, or I know I want to do a video. What am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? And the first thing I would say to them is, once you found that audience and you're able to have access to them through a social platform, your message should be answering questions. Think of all of the questions you've ever been asked about this product or service that you offer and the solutions it can provide, and answer those questions in a very transparent way. Even if it's a question such as price or something else that you kind of cringe when you hear the question, and will answer it when somebody asks, but you don't necessarily come forth with the information as quick as you can. You need to do that. And what you need to do is to be able to create maybe 10 or 15 videos of the questions, short videos of what you of what you're asked all the time. That is a wonderful way, because when somebody does find you online and does see what you're all about, they're able to have a lot of those questions answered right up front from you. And not only does that, help them, but also it starts endearing trust towards you. They're saying, wow, here, this is the person that took the time to answer my questions, do it in a very transparent manner. People remember those things. So that would be a great medium, I would say. Now, what you want to do when you're, let's say, on a social platform, the idea is to move these people off of this rented land that you're on. Social media is great, but move these people off to a land or a platform that you can control, which 9 times out of 10 is your website, and start collecting email subscribers. There's people, a lot of people will say email's dead. It is not. It's the preferred way that people want to get their information, and they'll opt in. In other words, they're saying, I want to hear your message. And be consistent with that message. If you're going to drop something, a podcast or a video every Monday at 5 a.m., gosh darn it, keep that promise to your listeners, viewers.
It's everything.
Because, it is everything. Because when they want to go there on Monday and expect something to be there, or whenever it is you want to drop something new and it's not there, then that trust starts flying out the window a bit. So those are the things I would say. Know who your audience is, find the medium that you can use, answer those questions. People pre-qualify themselves in a lot of ways, move them off of that platform onto your own, and start gaining email subscribers and garnering that trust.
I like everything that you said. And I know that everybody gets stuck right here. Well, I don't know really what to write about or blog about. You said frequently asked questions. And if you're wondering what those are, type it into Google, your industry, frequently asked questions, because you got competitors all over this nation that have addressed those, and you can address the same questions in your own way. So there are no excuses. Google is a just fingertip away. So start with the content. Mark said, be consistent with it. I can't express how important that is. You will you'll instantly go from expert to wishy-washy overnight if you can't be consistent with your content.
Right. Exactly.
So that's your brand. That's part of your brand. And during our little break here, I was able to find my lighter side story. And this is just a quick, silly thing, but it brought a smile to my face. There's an older woman here that this guy tweeted. So my mom told me that, and I'm going to share this in a second. He says, my mom told me this story about how my aunt and uncle ran into a celebrity at a bar and became friends with him, but she couldn't remember his name. My aunt just sent me these pictures. Now check this out. So do you see this, Mark?
Yeah.
All right. So the pictures are obviously like world famous Matthew McConaughey sitting in what looks like her home, his arm around the nice old lady. And now here with her husband and friend or whatever, having beers, and just too funny. So there's a celebrity. I don't remember his name. Do you know his name? Here are these pictures of Matthew McConaughey. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Real quick, I'll tell you this, that kind of happened to a friend of mine. He was down in Nashville and he was attending a conference, and he was staying at the Vanderbilt Hotel. One time, we're a huge famous hotel down in Nashville. It's still a very nice hotel, but one of those used to be the premier ones. And this was a few years ago, but he was in an elevator coming down for breakfast, and this lady got on, and she said hello, good morning to him, and had a Southern accent. And my buddy Joe said, hey, good morning, how are you? And she says, I'm really good, and this and that, and and she says, what are you in town for, or whatever? And he said, well, I'm here for a conference. And he said, are you in town for that? And she says, well, and she just kind of looked at him. She said, well, I'm a singer. And he goes, oh, wow, really? He goes, anybody ever heard of? She goes, well, my name is Reba McEntire. And he goes, Reba McEntire. He goes, never heard of you. And she just thought that was the greatest thing. And she said, and my buddy said, she was like this in his ear, just talk, where are you from? What do you do? What do you like? And this and that.
It's a breath of fresh air.
And she finally said, I don't think anybody has said that to me since I first got to Nashville. I never heard of you. So it was a funny story. So
that is funny. Last week I just briefly talked about, I listened to a Rogan podcast with Carrot Top. the comedian.
Oh, yeah.
And I never knew anything about him, really. What a nice guy. I really enjoyed the podcast. I recommend you guys look it up. But he told this story. He goes, and he's been around for 30 years, right?
Right.
And he says this is about 1992. So he's about 5 years into his profession or whatever. And he meets Gene Simmons. And for some reason, he's like at this big studio and stuff. And Simmons has all this KISS equipment, all in this gigantic like warehouse studio. And he just meets him and he's like, and Carrot Top's like, wow, so you got all kinds of stuff. You're a musician then? And he goes, yeah, the rock band KISS. And he goes, oh yeah, well, you guys must have done pretty good. I hadn't heard of you, but you must have done pretty well, huh? And in 1992, there's not a person on this planet that hasn't heard of KISS, right? Well, he goes on for like 20 minutes like this, Gene, messing with him. And he goes, by the end of 20 minutes, he's like, yeah, I heard of you. And Gene gets really mad. 20 years later, he's telling this, Carrot Top sees him again. Feels like they're friends and all that. And well, now Gene, who fashions himself to be a big investment guy, big business guy, he's like, well, what do you got for residual income? What do what other kind of means of income do you have other than just this comedy thing? And Carrot Top's like, well, I wrote a jingle or two here. And he's like, a jingle, really? Like which one? He goes, and Carrot Top goes, oh, I did the one by Menon. And she's like, really, you're messing with me. No. And for 20 minutes, Carrot Top went on about how he still gets residuals from the by Menon jingle and all that before he finally confides that he's just messing with him, that he made it all up.
Again.
Yes. And he said Gene was so mad. And the guy's all ego, so I can totally see that. I love that. I got to tell you, I really recommend that podcast. It was very entertaining. I usually listen to Rogan's, like if he's got a scientist on or something, that's when I'm all ears. I love that stuff. I don't listen to the MMA fighters and usually not even the comedian ones, but that one I was just curious about. Did not disappoint. It was very entertaining. Oh, yeah. You know what, dude? You are a major podcast guy. Do you what are some of your favorites? Something that you may recommend?
A lot of them I listen to are kind of towards the marketing side and tech side. Mm-hmm. But there's a Joe Polizzi here, who is a Cleveland resident, and he started the Content Marketing Institute, and he has since sold that in one of the biggest marketing conferences in the world, Content Marketing World, here in Cleveland. Him and a gentleman by the name of Robert Rose, who was the co-founder, I believe, of the Content Marketing Institute with Joe. Robert is still with the company. Well, Joe sold off back in 2016, I think.
Not out of the game, though.
No, not out of the game.
He's hosting another event.
Right. But him and Robert have been doing, they're on episode 307, I think, is this week, every week, and had a little bit of a hiatus when Joe sold the business, the Content Marketing Institute, but they're back. It's called This Old Marketing. You can find it on any podcast platform. And I really, really enjoy, because they talk about a lot of different things. And they both are big NFL fans. And, they kind of start out with that. Joe is a Browns fan, Robert's a Cowboys fan. So it's nice about that. And then they talk about, their rants and raves of different marketing ideas and predictions and so forth. It's pretty entertaining. And if you're
smart dudes, I listen to it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's usually my go-to podcast, and has for, I think I picked them up on episode 10. So it's been a while that I've been listening to them.
Nice. Cool. All right. With that, it ran a little over. Well, we're probably just about where we should be. But let's wrap that up. And Mark, I really appreciate you hitting here. You've done a great job, and you shared a lot of good stuff with us. And guys, remember, check out the link for Syndicate of Sounds. I can't find it right off. It is musicbox.cle/immersive.
Yep. And musicboxcle.com/immersive. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You guys are invited. $10 a ticket. You can't be.
Yeah. Good time. It'll be fun.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again. See you guys next week. Okay.